here at the Activate Network Summit, and I'm thinking to myself, there's a lot of interesting people in this room, so I need to find myself a business strategist, a facilitator, someone that's spoken to organizations all over the world and has been someone that's provided solutions with business strategy. So all of a sudden, I turn to my right, and here she is, Andrea Cates, with us. Hi, Andrea, how are you?
Hey, great to see you, Butch.
Great to see you, too. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm very excited to be here at the Activate Networks Summit because it's the first moment where the relevant tools for what business is really looking for are finally coming into their own.
The first moment?
It's
what do you
the
mean
first
the first
moment. Well, up until
now. With all
now,
your experience in business and all that you've done, this is the first moment?
Well, it's a very important moment
Okay.
because up until now, the tools that we've had have been tools that have really been designed for managing yesterday and today. And three things are really different about business. It's faster than ever before.
Yeah.
It's more connected than ever before. And it's more global than ever before. And
True.
so the social network analysis lets you look at the really important relationships among your customers and among the people that you interact with, so you can really anticipate what you should be doing next with your business. So that's my particular interest.
All right, before we go forward, let's go back. You are an author also.
I am.
Talk about your book, Find Your Next.
It's called Find Your Next. And I was inspired because about 5 years ago, I realized that everything I was taught in business school was designed for kind of like if Napoleon were given bayonets and then asked to fight a nuclear war.
Little outdated?
Yeah. It was perfect for the time.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, the ability to look at a spreadsheet and think that doing last year faster and jumping a little higher is going to get you to the next, which is the name of the book, Find Your Next, it's flawed because there are such different forces out there. You know, one day you're Canon and you're competing with Olympus and you think that that's your competitor, and about 5 minutes later the iPhone comes around and more people take pictures with the iPhone than with an Olympus camera today. So if you've been preparing in the old mindset, you'll never be able to keep up.
So you sound like you're passionate about talking about all industries and business principles that work for all industries, correct?
Well, my specialty is cross-industry because if you think about it, it's probably more likely, and there's a company that I profiled called Sharp Healthcare, and I asked them how they won the Baldrige Award, which is an excellence award in the healthcare field. And what they said is that they won that award by studying not other hospitals, but by studying the Ritz-Carlton for its hospitality and Disney for its ability to keep the messy stuff behind the scenes, and a Zen garden to understand the real sense of healing. So if you think about it, the companies that really get ahead today study other industries, not just their competitors in their line of sight.
So you're an author, you're a business strategist, you work with all kinds of different clients, you work globally.
I do.
You're also a founder of a business Genome?
Yes, Business Genome, and that's the consulting arm that really does what the Find Your Next book describes. So we go into companies and we look at something like, P.F. Chang's and as a restaurant, and what can they learn from Target about hitting a consumer that might be very much value focused right now. They might not be able to look at Cheesecake Factory and learn from them, or McDonald's, but they can learn a lot from Target about how to reach, in a cool way, a customer that's a little more sensitive to the dollar.
So what can a healthcare company learn from P.F. Chang's? Cross industry, what can the successes or principles that are practiced or things that have worked in one industry teach somebody in another industry?
Well, the example I use all the time is Pennzoil, because if Pennzoil kept looking at other oil companies, they would get better oil, more viscosity, but still nobody really cares about the oil at the end of the day. But what they did care about was a safe environment, a clean environment to have their oil changed. So you take Pennzoil and you add to it like a Starbucks mojo of hanging out in a Wi-Fi environment, and you lead to Jiffy Lube.
Interesting, because Jiffy Lube's had great success with their Keep My Ride Alive, which sort of tapped in. I mean, I'm going off on a tangent here, but when you look at that campaign, it really tapped into social networks and into people. It allowed, I know they had a great success with their Facebook campaign because it allowed people that had Mustangs from the 60s to brag about what they had done, and they really used the power, and that sort of gets to my final point, they really used the power of social networks and people's networks to,
That's
to
right.
harness
Well,
that.
I'll give you two examples. And that perfect example is that we are so much more connected. It's like connectivity on steroids because it's so fast, and it's so important for us to figure out what's significant, not just the noise that we have in our connections, like who do we know on Facebook, because that might not be significant, but what is it that a company or a brand can really understand about the meaning? You know, what makes me want to come back to the Hyatt time and time again? What makes me loyal? And my favorite example in cross-industry, though, is actually the front man for Jane's Addiction, who I interviewed for Find Your Next, who I said he founded Lollapalooza. And I said, so what rock groups did you study to come up with this great idea of Lollapalooza? He said, rock groups. I studied people who could put bodies in the seats for a couple of days in a row. He said, I studied NASCAR. So that's the way you have to look at it. So network data helps you see that. It's a pattern of what you can see that is common to NASCAR and to a rock concert. And that's the power of this Activate Networks data, is you can see the information in the patterns in a way that gets you to be able to actually do something about it Monday morning at 8 o'clock.
Final question, give us one takeaway from Activate Networks or from this event that you'll take away.
Well, I think that the depth of knowledge that the people at Activate Networks bring to the table in terms of understanding the real meaning, and to quote Sean Moffat from Wikibrands, the notion of you start off with insight, but what you really want is foresight. So you see all this big data, and that's all the news today is, big data. But the people at Activate Networks demonstrated today an ability to bring some actionable, an actionable game plan so that you can figure out which of your patients are the ones that are most important to communicate with, and how to construct a whole relationship with your customers where they'll be loyal to you over time.
Yeah, practical. They showed you
practical
the secret
news
sauce.
You can use starting Monday.
Andrea, pleasure talking to you.
Very nice to meet you.
All right, you too.
Thanks,
Andrea
Butch.
Cates. I'm Butch Stearns. This is all part of the Activate Network Summit 2012.